Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. I am planning to refashion my me-made wedding dress that I made 20 years ago, and I need your help. Now, if you've been following my channel for a little while, you might already know about these plans that I have. I set out 23 things that I wanted to complete within the year 2023. I talked about that in a video at the beginning of the year, which I'll put a link to if you didn't see it before. One of the things I wanted to do was to refashion my wedding dress. This year in November is my 20th wedding anniversary. I made my wedding dress 20 years ago, and it's been sitting in a box in the loft, not doing anything, like most people's wedding dresses, let's be fair. But I felt like it seemed like a really good opportunity to pull the dress out, have a really good look at it, just for myself to see how far I've come in this 20 years of sewing, but also to actually do something with that beautiful fabric. It is really stunning fabric, and I really do love so much about the dress. It's not a day-to-day dress like anyone's wedding dress, but I feel like I could use that fabric to make something a little bit more wearable, and also it would just feel that extra special to be able to wear something for my anniversary when I go out with my husband, but something that I can also just wear more regularly and have that nice positive memory and association when I wear it. Now, because I got married in 2003, I feel like photography was not quite what it is now. Certainly digital copies of photos were not as good quality. I will put in some images of what I looked like on the day so that you can see what it looked like 20 years ago. But I feel like it's not really the detail that I wanted to show you guys, because I know with sewing people, you want the details. I want the details. If I was getting married today, I would take many more photos just of the dress. And so I decided the easiest way to show you guys what this dress looks like was to actually put it on so you can see it on a body. Holding a thing up on a hanger is not going to show you what it's meant to look like. Now, I will say my body has changed in the last 20 years. No big surprises there, but I was still able to get it on, which I was happy about. I wasn't entirely sure, a little bit worried about some of those buttons, and definitely it's bunching in places that it shouldn't be. And I certainly wouldn't want to spend a lot of time in this dress, but I was able to get it on so that I can show you what this dress looks like in a little more detail. So it has a really beautiful square neckline. I wanted to go for sleeveless, but I wanted to make sure that the straps were wide enough to cover my bra strap because I wanted to be able to wear a proper bra. This is fitted really nicely. So there are darts that come up from the waist seam up to the bust, and then there are darts then that extend from the waist seam down past the hip, both on the front and on the back, which allow for really nice shaping, and it really does hug my curves really well. Probably hugged my curves a little better at the original time when I made it. This dress is fully lined as well, so the bodice and the skirt are both completely lined. I will say the lining it's like a standard lining fabric, so I probably wouldn't want to try and keep that fabric, but I definitely want to keep as much of the main dress as possible. The big like kapow knockout moment to me is the back. I mean, a wedding dress, you gotta have a lot of impact on the back. I had 26 fabric covered buttons with 26 rouleau loops. That definitely was the most time that I spent on this project, was making the fabric covered buttons and making those rouleau loops. And I feel like it just looks so beautiful. I feel like it's so lovely just going down the back, and definitely obviously very much wedding dress vibes. It also has a big long train as well, so there's a lot of fabric that hangs at the back that I have to work with. So I feel like putting all these pieces together, I have quite a lot of fabric and quite a lot that I could theoretically do with it. I loved the idea, because it is my 20th anniversary coming up this year, to actually take this dress apart and do something with it, so that for one, I can wear it out for my anniversary, which seems really sweet, but then also something that I can actually potentially wear on another occasion. I love this fabric so much, and I don't love the idea of it just sitting in a box in my loft for the rest of my life. Now, you will have noticed this dress, it's not a white dress, it's not a cream dress. I'm not a traditional person. I am not the kind of person who will just do something because it's the thing to do. I do something because it makes sense for me to do it. And I went fabric shopping with my mom to Vogue Fabrics in Evanston, and both of us immediately just fell in love with this fabric when we saw it. It was so beautiful, the way it changed when the light hit it, and definitely like the texture of it, the feel of it. it was definitely fabric that I needed to buy, and it was definitely fabric that needed to be my wedding dress. But when I was 21, when I bought it, I didn't really know a whole lot about fabric, and I didn't particularly pay attention to what was on the label, what I was buying. I just knew it was from the bridal section. I knew that it would work. But 20 years down the line, I know a little bit more about fabric. I know a little bit more about caring for fabric, and I wanted to know what this fabric actually is. So I reached out to Harriet, who is the owner of Sew Me Sunshine. She is very knowledgeable in fabric and very knowledgeable specifically in burn tests. And I asked her, is there any way I could swing by Sew Me Sunshine HQ, because it's not too far from where I live, and just do a quick burn test with her to get to the bottom of what this wedding dress fabric is. She kindly agreed to do it, so I'll pop in some footage at just like the front door of the Sew Me Sunshine HQ, not anywhere very glamorous, but it did the trick, and we were able to get to the bottom of what this fabric is. So the little swatch that I brought her, this was actually a loop that was on the end of the train, so that way either I could pick it up when I needed to move around, sit down, go to the bathroom, or whoever was potentially walking around with me, making sure that the bottom of my dress wasn't dragging around too much in the rain and in the dirt. I cut that off because I thought, well, actually that's just a good way to get a good square, like a swatch of the fabric to test. And so we burned a little bit of it, and based on what we could see and smell and feel, this fabric burned up really quickly. It left a soft ash. There were no hard bits. There were no crunchy bits at the end. It was like a dark gray ash, and it smelled, that was the main thing, is it smelled like leaves. It smelled like paper. So Harriet was very confident from all of those reasons to say that it's definitely a viscose fabric. What I was basically unsure of is, was it viscose or was it actually silk? Because this fabric is so soft and so silky, I really wasn't sure. The other reason I really wanted to know is because I wanted to find out if I could wash it in the washing machine. I had always dry cleaned it. Well, I dry cleaned it, I say always, after the first time I wore it, which was the only time that I wore it, I dry cleaned it because I wasn't sure if this fabric could handle going in the washing machine. But since I had my little swatch left over after I'd burned it, I chucked it in the washing machine. It came out perfectly. I put it in the dryer as well, again, just as a test, and it came out absolutely as new. Beautiful, soft and silky, no damage whatsoever. So that is really great for me to know when I make something with this fabric in the future, it will not have any issues going in the wash, though I will pre-wash it once I unpick all the pieces, although maybe I'll pre-wash it as is. It's just quite a bulky thing to put in the washing machine. I'll work that out before I do the washing. But I wanted to show you this dress a little bit more up close. So this color I feel like is fairly accurate. It is definitely a red color. It's like a deep burgundy red wine kind of color. But I really love that depending on how the light hits it, you can get a little bit more brown. It can look a little bit more red. It is, like I said, so soft and so silky. It has a really beautiful drape to it, really nice body, nice movement. I would say it's a light to a medium weight fabric. The inside lining, like I said, I'm not really going to keep it. It's just like a standard acetate lining, and it works well with it, but it's not something I want to keep. These fabric covered buttons I would really love to save. They took a lot of time, and they are still just as perfect and beautiful as when I made them. The rouleau loops, I will say, they're a lot more irregular. They're a lot thicker than I would probably make them these days, so I don't particularly feel like I need to save the rouleau loops. But, you know, main thing is I want to keep what I can, keep what is worth keeping, and see how I can use those elements on a new garment. I don't have any plans to just make this one fit. I'm not going to take the seams out or try and keep the general overall design. I really just want to use the fabric on something else, so I'm going to do more of a complete refashion, take it apart. Because of the train, I really do have quite a lot of fabric. It's difficult to know until you really pull these things apart. But honestly, I've got, I mean, it's about 1 meter wide if I go across the whole train, sort of the width of it from the top to the bottom. And I feel like there's a good 3 meters just from the bottom of the train to where the rest of the front of the dress sits. So quite a lot of just yardage. There is a seam that goes down the center here, so I have to bear that in mind. As far as the bodice, what I can save and salvage, I kind of doubt that I'm going to be able to use a lot. I have this dart that goes into the center that's quite high up there, into the center of the bust rather, that goes quite high up. I think these bodice pieces maybe could be like a small element, but are probably more of a write-off. I'm expecting more likely to use the skirt sections. But like I said, until I pull it apart and see what I've got, it's difficult to know. And also, depending on what I decide to make with it will really make a difference. Now, I really have not decided what I want to make with this dress yet, and that's part of why I wanted to make this video today, because I would love to hear people's suggestions and thoughts of what to do with this really beautiful fabric. Key things I will say is that I would really like to have something that I can wear. I don't want to have another one-off special piece like a, evening gown that I'm going to be able to wear out to one really fancy dinner. I want to have something that I can wear. Now, this type of fabric, it is not everyday basic, and I get that. So I'm not going to be making a t-shirt and a pair of shorts out of it. It's just not going to happen. It would be bizarre. But maybe somewhere in between, so something that's a little bit dressy but not necessarily ball gown over the top. So I had thought as well, because I've got these fabric covered buttons, if there was a way to use those in a special way. I can think of a couple of patterns that would potentially use those. One is the Shea dress from Chalk and Notch that has really beautiful button detail with fabric covered buttons on it. The other is the Closet Core NYX dress, which uses a few buttons on the front of the bodice. I have made that dress and I really do like the dress that I made, but I feel like I need a little bit more work on the fit on the bodice. It's a little bit too gapey for me at the front, and it doesn't use a whole lot of the buttons, which is fine. But I'm just trying to decide, and honestly, I could just use fabric covered buttons in really any garment that uses buttons, so I don't necessarily want to restrict it. And if I decide not to use the buttons, that's all good as well. I think more importantly, I just want to use this fabric and find a way to wear it. I would love to hear any suggestions that people have for making something out of a pretty decent part, but going to be in little pieces of a garment. I really want something that is suitable for a medium to lightweight viscose. I also want to find something that feels really more comfortable and stylish and modern, but would suit this type of fabric well. It's kind of vague. I know I'm being vague. Like I said, I would love any suggestions that you guys have. I am really excited to do something with this dress. I will be filming another video talking through what I find as I pick this project apart, because I think it's going to be fun to actually get stuck into these seams and see what my sewing work and my stitching work was like back 20 years ago. And I'll be sharing that with you guys later, in addition to sharing what I finally decide to make with this fabric. My anniversary is the 29th of November, so I have a fair bit of time, but I just feel like this year is flying by and I need to start the process. I need to get the ball rolling and thinking. So please let me know what you guys think. Tell me as well your thoughts on this wedding dress. If you have a wedding dress that you made, do you still have it? Would you ever consider doing something with it, refashioning it? Is it possible? Is it suitable? I would love to hear, even if you didn't make your own wedding dress, if you ever considered pulling your old wedding dress out and doing something with it, or any kind of special garment, whether it was like a prom dress or a dress that you made for an occasion. I really like the idea of reworking that occasion wear into something a little bit more wearable, and I would love to hear your experience of that as well. Please do give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Make sure you are subscribed to my video if you want to see the follow-up of what happens with my wedding dress, or if you want to see other videos in the future. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!